I'd like to welcome everyone to the March 18th, 2021 Centreville Town Council meeting. We'll go ahead and start with the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll get started with a review of the minutes from the March 4th meeting. Any changes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a motion to second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We'll begin with our citizens forum. Citizens are requested to keep their comments to 3 minutes.
Welcome to this meeting of the Centreville Town Council. This is a public meeting and we welcome your participation. By attending, you acknowledge that this session is recorded and aired live on QAC TV 7. During the meeting, we ask that you turn your cell phones off and hold personal conversations outside the meeting room. The scheduled agenda is available on the information table just outside. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The Town Council respects and appreciates your desire and right to convey your message freely, and in keeping with the dignity of proceedings, we ask that all views be expressed in a respectful and civil manner. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. If questions are a part of your comments, we will refer those to the appropriate individual. Thank you.
I don't see anyone here for public comment, so we'll turn next to our first public hearing of the night on Ordinance 1-2021. This is a text amendment for agricultural uses in Planned Business District, PBD. The subject of this hearing is an ordinance of the Town Council of Centreville, amending the Town of Centreville zoning ordinance, which is Chapter 170 of the Town Code, to add agriculture as a permitted use subject to limitations contained herein in the Planned Business District, or PBD. I'd like to have Steve Walls, Town Manager, provide some background on the ordinance.
Yes, Green Thumb Industries is a business that's located in the business park. They currently are proposing to expand their cannabis growing operation to the outdoors. Currently, the agriculture is not permitted use in the planned business district. And just as a matter of reference, actually the agriculture has been occurring in the business park over the years, for all the undeveloped land, but it's technically not a permitted use. The Planning Commission has reviewed the proposed text amendment, and that amendment that they reviewed stated agriculture, excluding dairy, pasturing, viticulture, animal and poultry husbandry. Agriculture use includes the growing of cannabis authorized by and in accordance with a license issued by the state of Maryland. And after the Planning Commission's review, they recommended 2 words be added to the text. The 2 words being "and processing," and the new proposed text amendment would read as follows: that agriculture, excluding dairy, pasturing, viticulture, animal and poultry husbandry, agriculture use includes the growing and processing of cannabis authorized by and in accordance with a license issued by the state of Maryland. So this is proposed use in the planned business district.
Thank you. I'll now call on Carolyn Brinkley, the town clerk, to present evidence of the published notice of this hearing.
Certification of publication, State of Maryland, County of Queen Anne's County. This is to certify that the annex legal advertisement has been published in the publication and insertions in the Star Democrat, March 3rd, 2021, Record Observer, March 5th, 2021, and Record Observer, March 12th, 2021.
Thank you. We will first hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 1-2021, and then hear from those opposed. Please keep all comments to 3 minutes. You are welcome to provide written testimony to the town council as well. We will now hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 1-2021.
Mr. Commissioner, would it be okay if my client,
By all means.
Laura Brown, came up with me, and we'll keep it maybe under 3 altogether, definitely collectively under 6.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioners. We really appreciate this. My name is Joe Stevens. I'm an attorney here in Centreville, been practicing for decades here, and I've been representing GTI. And Steve Walls gave you the background, really. They were looking to expand. They're acquiring another piece of property in the business park. The expansion includes right now outdoor growing, but it will include an indoor facility as well. The use wasn't clearly permitted in the business park district, and this is millions of dollars in investment that they'd be making, and they couldn't do that without clarity in the ordinance. So with the assistance of Steve and Sharon and all the staff, we put together the amendment. They've moved it through thoroughly, but in a very expeditious manner. We appreciate that, and we're moving through with site plans and subdivision plan commensurate with this. We've been to the Planning Commission for those. We'll be going to the Planning Commission again in April for those final approvals. So we really appreciate everything that the town's done, and I know Laura wants to address you as well. And if you have questions about, how we put this together, any of the legal aspects of it, I'd be happy to answer.
Yes. I just want to thank everyone for this opportunity and your time today. It's an honor to be here. I have been part of the Centreville operation since it started, and it's just been a real pleasure to be part of this community. Green Thumb itself, as a whole company, is really grateful to be part of this wonderful community, and we love nothing more than to continue to create jobs here in Centreville while also expanding access to medicine for patients across Maryland. We're humbled to be bringing job opportunities to Centreville. Just for some numbers for you guys, we started with fewer than 10 people on our team, and then from over the past 2 years, we've gone from 28 team members, and now we're at just over 80 people. And with these expansions, we hope to be at over 100 people by end of the year. So we're really excited about that, and we're just so grateful to be part of this wonderful town. And I would also like to echo Mr. Stevens and thank the town staff that's been so helpful on this project with us, working with us, and thank you to you all for your time today.
Thank you for thanking the town staff. That's nice to hear.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
We will now hear from all those opposing proposed ordinance 1-2021.
I actually have two.
Sorry.
That's okay. I actually have 2 emails that were submitted that are in favor of ordinance 01-2021, and I will read them. I am writing to voice my support for ordinance 01-2021 zoning amendment. I am not a town resident, but am a property owner and business owner, and this ordinance is pro-business. Thank you for your time, Greg Torchio. To whom it may concern, I am reaching out regarding tonight's town council meeting. As a Centreville town resident and an employee of the company, I would like to show my support for the approval of an outdoor grow. I have been an employee for over 2 years, purchased my first house in town a little over a year ago, and love to call this place my home. Growing this business will allow for so many more people like myself to get started in town or even pick themselves back up after the COVID crisis. As many of the employees like to grab lunch and dinner around town, this would also help boost the town economy. I appreciate your time, and please take this into consideration during tonight's hearing. Thank you, Kristen Witten.
We will now hear from all those opposing proposed ordinance 1-2021. All right. Not hearing anyone, the Centreville Town Council will consider all comments presented this evening before making a final decision regarding proposed ordinance 1-2021. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this hearing?
Make motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, the hearing is adjourned. Thank you all. We'll start with our second public hearing. The subject of this hearing is an ordinance of the Town Council of Centreville adopting a temporary moratorium on the issuance of permits for accessory structures in excess of 400 square feet. So I'll provide, since this is my ordinance, I will provide a little bit of background. I think you all have heard me probably ad nauseum at this point. This just provides the Planning Commission just a little bit of time to work through their amendments to accessory buildings, to put some sideboards on what an accessory building should look like, how big it could be, the landscaping associated with it, those sorts of things. So for the next 6 months, if we clear this, you would not be able to build a structure in excess of 400 square feet, which is 20 by 20. It's a pretty big garage. You can certainly still build right now. This is just putting a moratorium on the bigger pole buildings and things of that nature. I'll now call upon Carolyn Brinkley, Town Clerk, to present evidence of the published notice of this hearing.
Certification of publication, State of Maryland, County of Queen Anne's. This is to certify the annex legal advertisement has been published in the publications and insertions in the Star Democrat 3/3/2021, Record Observer 3/5/2021, and Record Observer 3/12/2021.
We will first hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 2-2021, and then hear from those opposed. Please keep all comments to 3 minutes. You are welcome to provide written testimony to the town council as well. All those in favor? All those opposed? The Centreville Town Council will consider all comments presented this evening before making a final decision regarding proposed ordinance 2-2021. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the hearing?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Hearing adjourned. Thank you. All right, moving on to old business. We just talked about ordinance 1-2021, so happy to entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve ordinance 1-2021 as amended to include the change recommended by the Planning Commission.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 No? All right, the motion carries. Ordinance 2-2021, text amendment moratorium accessory structures over 400 square feet. Do I have a motion to adopt?
I motion.
Go ahead.
I motion to adopt ordinance 02-2021.
Great, second, Bob?
Second. And I second it, and especially since the planning commission has voted to forward a favorable recommendation.
Great. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, ordinance 3-2021, Northbrook Phase 3, deed of dedication. And I will just read the first paragraph of this. An ordinance for the purpose of authorizing the acceptance of the rights-of-way, including roadways, in the Northbrook Phase 3 subdivision, and consenting to the conveyance of the 6.6-acre proposed park in the Phase 2 of the Northbrook subdivision to be conveyed directly to the Northbrook Phase 2 Homeowners Association Incorporated in lieu of a conveyance to the town. In compliance with the charter of the town of Centreville, Article 3, Section 301, Paragraph 46, and all matters related thereto. A motion to accept 3-2021 or approve?
Have we received all the necessary documents, or?
Yes.
Yes. All right. That's good. I make a motion then to approve ordinance 03-2021 as presented.
Second.
All right, motion and seconded. Any discussion? I'll say this is an important thing for the community of Northbrook, and I appreciate the town staff's expeditious handling of this. I think it means a lot to our folks in Northbrook, so thank you to all y'all. All right, we'll have a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the motion carries. All right, the final bit of old business is 2021 fireworks, which I know we like to talk about at every one of these.
Yes, we do. So we met, our first little committee that we started met on Tuesday. It was Chief Sabori, Chelsea Townsend, our new administrative assistant for the police department. I did say Chelsea, right? Yes.
You did.
And so we met and we went over some different options in case we were not able to do rides or, other things that we can do in place of rides because of COVID, if the restrictions aren't lifted or aren't as loose as they have been, or could be. So we are all moving forward, working towards looking at those options, contacting the food vendors just to give them an idea of the day and to put it on hold. And if there's something that I'm missing, probably Chief and Shelby, you can tell me.
I think you said everything.
Yeah. So we're moving forward.
Wonderful. Do you need anything from us?
Nope.
Great.
We're good.
Thank you. All right, new business. The FY22 budget, operating and capital. We call Karen up.
We have to read all that?
If you don't, I will.
Thank you very much.
Before you leave the
Our
meeting,
Bible.
Before we leave the meeting.
Can't leave until it's finished.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, yeah.
All right, so, I'll just give you kind of a quick overview of what's in there, and, we'll actually use this as our starting point next Thursday for the first work session. So in front of the very first tab, you have the timelines, just a reminder of all the dates of the work sessions. And behind that, you'll have a current organizational chart, just so you know all the positions are. Tab 1 gives you the operating budget for enterprise and general fund. So it goes through all the departments and all the requests for revenue and expenditures. And tab 2 will give you the 5-year capital plan. We also included the previous year just so you could see how it was, and then FY22 to FY26. Tab 3 gives you the additional operating requests and capital requests. So these are the things outside of the normal budget that you'll have to go through and decide yes or no if it's approved. And then the final tab is just some supplemental information, some extra stuff that may come in handy as we're going through. So we tried to do like a table of contents so you kind of knew what was in there. We numbered the pages. But this just gives you like the constant yield information, bank balances, grants, rates for water and sewer, public utility. And that's it for now. Each week, as we meet for a work session, I'll update any changes that we make, and then the next work session, you'll have new copies. So I tried to put enough tabs in there so you guys would have room to keep adding. The first work session is next Thursday at 6 p.m. at this building. So bring this with you. This is where we'll start. Usually we dive into the operating first. It's a little less crazy than everything else, and then venture into the additional information. So I also, in the front, I left the, this is the tab. So if you wanted to name your tabs, you could. So I left these in there so you could have that.
Okay.
And we'll get into this in future work sessions, so don't want to open it up as a bunch of detailed questions now, but do folks have any questions for Karen?
I do not. Thank you.
Yeah. If you think of something, you guys can reach out and just let me know.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
And Karen,
Yeah.
if you're not aware, I assume Steve told you about the extension we have to notify the county about the tax differential?
Yep.
It, correct, the chief financial officer has extended our date until April 15th.
That's correct. And I did
Plus-
put some tax differential information in here in the supplemental for you guys, just an array of the last few years to kind of give you some history or background on it.
And everybody received the emails I sent on the 2019 and the 2020 legislative information?
Yes.
From Maryland Municipal League, which I love the 2019 because the history, year
Yeah.
by year.
Yeah,
So we should have a good handle on that.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right, we'll move perhaps to Crystal for Resolution 3-2021 on the comp time payout policy.
Good evening.
Oh, hello.
Okay. So the town's current comp leave policy per the personnel manual allows all full-time employees the ability to earn compensatory leave at the discretion of their department head or designee. Currently, there is no cap to how much leave there can be earned, and there's no payout unless upon separation or termination, which, at the end of each fiscal year, compensatory leave is designated as a financial obligation in the audit statement if carried over to the new fiscal year. So I included in this memo the draft policy, an estimated compensatory leave payout as of pay period ending February 15th, 2021, that has accumulated over the years. I've also included a survey conducted with surrounding agencies related to compensatory leave for their employees. So what we're recommending is adding to the current comp leave policy in order to reduce long-term carryover from year to year by including the following recommendations. The first of which, all full-time employees may earn up to a maximum of 100 hours of compensatory leave. All compensatory leave must be used by the first paycheck dated in June of each year, and if it's not used, then it shall be paid out at that time prior to the start of the new fiscal year. So those were the two recommendations that I have regarding this policy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You have any questions?
The chart is, the comp payout survey results is pretty helpful to have.
Thank you very much, Crystal.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's what my expectation was. And I really compliment you on doing that, because we should, I call it benchmarking what other towns and government organizations do around us. It's kind of like when Chief Sobry presented his information to us. And you can see it made the day. So this is what we need, and I thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
And just for example, Queen Anne's County, they've had a payout policy for quite a number of years, and theirs is paid out in March of each year. We just decided to recommend, June, because as long as it's taken care of by the end of the fiscal year, that's all that was a prime concern.
And just to clarify as well too, hourly employees, are required to earn overtime after working 40 hours in a week. And so even if they're working more hours and they've accrued already 100 hours of comp time that they chose to earn versus overtime, it'll just mean that they just get paid out for the overtime past the 100 hours that they earn for comp time.
Looks like it isn't a whole lot of employees. It's maybe
No, so we allowed the compensatory leave. It's hourly employees basically have the option of whether they want to earn their overtime for that pay period, or if they want to convert it to comp time, which is still calculated at time and a half. So they're just getting that leave in case, if they have a short amount of sick leave or something, they would prefer to have that. But yes, normally a lot of our employees don't choose the comp time.
okay.
So
I had some discussions with Steve Walls about staffing of the whole town, and this will go into, I think, factoring where
staffing needs to be.
where the holes are. It's kind of like we've now almost gotten full force on the police force. And I know Kip, we hope to make sure he has a full contingent of employees for his work. And so I thank you. This will go into that consideration. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So the goal is to try to clear out what's accumulated over time this coming June, so that next fiscal year then you really won't see that high of an amount. but that's something, we could certainly see how things fall out as we get closer to the end of the fiscal year.
This was accumulated over a number of years?
Yes.
Okay, so this is kind of like what it'll be for a max. And looking at it,
Yeah.
the number you picked, the 100 hours, was that based on what you saw?
Based on some of the survey information, and, it was just more of a, let's take a look at what people average
Okay,
in, a one full year, for a period of a few years, what would be, there's quite a, there's a couple that obviously go way over that amount, but that, like I said, is accumulated over several years. So it was more of just trying to figure out what is
your decision
a good
to get a
average.
reasonable number then?
I believe so, yes, because
Okay.
based on the survey of other agencies.
Yeah, very
Because
good.
we're not the highest and we're not at the lowest. We're
Right.
kind of right in the middle.
That's good.
So-
Thank you. Go ahead.
I'll admit that, I was a little shocked to hear that we have a comp policy on top of salary employees. It's just, you would know better than I do, but that's, in the private sector, not very traditional in my experience. So, a salaried employee in my industry is working as many hours a week to get the job done as they get paid, and the amount of time they work doesn't really have any bearing on what they get paid. This information, but Chestertown stands out to me as not having a comp policy. Is this the normal? Obviously it is, but it just, you say hourly employees, but
So
these
you
are
have
salaried
exempt,
employees.
correct, so you have exempt employees who are exempt from overtime, which are the salaried employees. You have non-exempt employees who are the ones who are hourly employees that are eligible to earn overtime after working, a period of 40 hours in a work week. It's not uncommon for government agencies to offer that as a benefit for salaried employees who are working extra hours, attending meetings, who are not able to flex time based on their duties. It's a way of compensating.
Sure.
But it's something I know that actually was in place before I came here, and from my understanding has been around for several years prior. So it's not a benefit that I was just wanting to, take away from anybody. So
Is my understanding correct? Steve's the only employee doesn't earn comp time? Is that correct?
That's correct.
So there's your example of the leader. Oh, excuse me.
And Joe?
well, and Joe, so theirs are based on an employment agreement.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
right.
And typically, I agree with what Crystal's saying. If you look at everything from the federal government on down to the town, there is a comp policy in place for salaried employees. Even when I was an engineer working for the federal government, yes, I had a yearly salary, but I was considered up to a certain level, I could earn comp time at my salary, hourly wage. So it is a normal policy to have.
I was like, it's government. No, but I understand. My mother worked for a private organization, and we used to have this discussion a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know we can clear this tonight, but I'd actually like to spend a little more time with it, if that's okay with you. Just
Yeah.
a little more conversation between the five of us.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank
So
you.
we could table it?
Well,
is that-
yeah, maybe not formally, but
Okay, just a review.
yeah.
Not a problem.
Since this is the first time we've seen.
Well, it is new business. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Move on to the crack seal services. I assume this is probably Kip or Steve.
Okay, crack sealing's a necessary maintenance for our roads and stuff. It definitely prolongs the lifespan of the top course pavement and everything. Over the past several years, we've tried to get roads sealed. What we're asking for this time is we have a contractor who has bid consecutively on this job. The past year, when we bid it out, he was the only one that responded to the bid. It's a specialized job. Not everybody does it, so there's contractors are few and far between. What we're actually asking for is to go ahead and allow this contractor to crack seal and not exceed $30,000 in our budget this year. We're a little behind the ball because we try and do this in the late fall, early winter, with the wet season and all the work and everything that we had going on. It didn't get done, so we're trying to get it done before the weather gets too warm. You want to try and do it while the road surface is still cold, and to make sure you get your cracks filled. And you can't do that when it's freezing either. So therefore, that's what I'm asking.
All right, perfect. I have a motion.
I make a motion to approve Coppedge Paving of Maryland at a rate of $1.25 per linear foot, and to expend up to but not exceed $30,000 for crack seal services.
Second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just as a word so that everybody knows, we do have them on schedule to start on Monday. So there will be an e-blast so that everybody understands traffic delays and the route that it's going to be happening.
Suggested maybe Carolyn could put a note to the Record Observer with the schedule, you know, what streets, they should have a plan, right?
Well, we can't.
I'm just asking.
Yes, and I'm just saying we can't necessarily put a plan written in stone.
Okay.
Because the weather plays a very big part in it.
Okay.
If the temperatures are too low in the morning, that's going to wipe that day out. If it's forecasted rain, he can't do it in the rain.
Right.
And if it rained the day before, then it may still be too wet. So it's very, very hard to give you a schedule
Just
written in
ask,
stone.
in the past, has the public been notified?
Email blast.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, that's what
email.
you were talking about.
Yep.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I think we just heard, did we just find out today that he was coming
We did,
Monday?
yeah, we
And-
just this evening, actually.
Just this evening, and in order to get it in the paper, we would have to put
no,
it in
understand.
Tuesday. So, yeah, we're going to do an email blast tomorrow.
Because we normally do things, I mean, we put stuff in the paper, you know.
Yeah, we're required to advertise some things, but
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
Do you want to handle the trash cans, or does it, Steve?
I was going to take care of that.
All right,
Yeah.
perfect. We'll move on to, thank you, Kip.
Thank you.
Thank
Ordinance 4-2021, maybe read the heading here. An ordinance of the Town Council of Centreville to amend Section 129-32, preparation and placement of Category 1 waste of the Town Code for the size required per container and all matters related generally thereto.
Yes, so essentially this ordinance has been on the books for a while, and back in the day, they decided to come up with a certain size. As you see in the ordinance, it was 49 gallons, and it said or 60 pounds. Well, we really do not go by weight, and the other thing is, over the years, some of the containers might be 50 gallons, some might be 60, and some might go up as high as 96. So, we normally have allowed homeowners to have as many as 6 containers. So we just thought maybe the simplest thing to do is just not have that set number of 49 gallons anymore, and we're just saying it to change it to not exceed 96 gallons, because that's typically maybe the largest size that a typical residential house would have. And then we just took out the weight altogether, because nobody's really, checking, doesn't have the capability of going out and checking the weight of each individual container. So just trying to clean up a loose end.
We could not, this is a first reading, so we'll need to have a second reading and so on and so forth, so no motions required for 4-2021. Thank you, Steve. All right, correspondence, Carolyn?
No, nothing.
All right, no correspondence. We'll move on to reports of boards and commissions. Maybe Councilmember Anania for the Park Advisory Board.
So the only update I have is that the wood duck boxes that I discussed with you guys last meeting, they are ready to be installed. So they're going to get on that soon. And then once they are installed, they're going to take some photos and do a press release.
And they're going to keep snakes out of them. They got snake excluders, right?
I will double check on that.
Otherwise, snakes love wood duck eggs.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I did not know that either.
That's what the things in the bottom of those are, the plastic funnels.
Yeah.
Keep the snakes from out of
Oh, okay.
them. Council of Governments, Jeff?
Big thing was the tax set-off. That was most of the meeting, what we talked about, so.
Perfect. I'm going to talk about that a little later in the roundtable.
Okay.
All right. Maryland Municipal League, Bob?
Yes, like I said, I made an inquiry to the Maryland Municipal League, and I received in response about tax differential in the past, and received 2 documents in 2019 and 2020. I also asked, and I have not received information, but I've been talking to Jim Peck. He is the researcher of MML. And I asked him the question about Queen Anne's, about county buildings, and that they are not on the tax rolls. And that how does other towns, municipalities handle that when there are discussions about establishing the tax differential? In that during the COG, if I remember correct, Steve and Jeff, it was mentioned that the county in the past says, well, if you don't like it, we'll just take the buildings outside of the town limits, and they were very not positive. I believe that's a very negative statement, because the millions of dollars that it would cost for them to replicate all the county buildings outside of the town of Centreville. So I'm asking Maryland Municipal League if they have any information of how past relationships between towns, municipalities, and county governments, if there has been a dialogue along those lines. So, and Carolyn, I'm looking forward. I received an email about registration, and yeah, she's nodding, so my registration is in.
Still do Jeff, but yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to confirm that. And that's it on Maryland Municipal League. Thank you.
Bob?
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to reports of department heads. And we'll start with Steve, the town manager.
Yes, of course, the big thing is working on the budget that Karen presented this evening, and we've still been communicating with some various development projects. For instance, the YMCA, they're proposing to come before the Planning Commission at their April meeting, and we've certainly been corresponding with a couple other projects and their representatives. And the normal, just following up on zoning complaints that we get, contacting property owners and trying to ask them to take care of what was needed to be done.
Thank you.
Is there any breaking news on the $4 million COVID relief money? Is that to us or to the county?
Yes, we were advised, through an email of that the town would receive somewhere in the neighborhood of $4.1 million as part of this, recent, stimulus package. We really don't know any specifics at this point, because we just found out, just 3 or 4 days ago. So we're looking to delve into the details and see what what's allowed in this package.
I hate to say I assume, but I assume there will be criteria to use those funds.
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah, I think we had also saw in the same correspondence, I think the county was supposed to get somewhere in excess of 9 million. So it appears that, various municipalities and counties around the state, were all part of this stimulus package.
Do you think this would factor into our budget consideration and discussions?
Well, we at least have it listed on their pending grants list.
Okay.
You'll see that in your
I mean,
package.
that's a sizable chunk of money. It would, I would hope, do a lot. Agree?
Yep. It's the language, the legislative text, the federal legislative text indicates that the money cannot be returned to the citizens as tax breaks. That is the one key criteria. Congress does not want towns and counties to just give this money back as tax breaks. But I don't. There's not the COVID stipulations
Right.
that were associated with the CARES Act.
Right.
So I'm going to dig into this language and take a look at it and see what's what there. But yeah, definitely look forward to maybe budgeting some of that. We'll turn it over to Chief.
Good evening, everyone. Within your package, you'll find the February 2021 department overview. As we move forward through this year, each month within your packets, we're going to provide you with some different exhibits, which I think are helpful in kind of establishing a baseline and showing some transparency with the different types of incidents and calls for service that the officers from the Centreville Police Department respond to. If you refer to Exhibit A, it shows a breakdown of call for service totals by month. The last page of Exhibit A will actually show you the comparison between January and February of 2021. So you can see we're down slightly for calls for service, which is a good thing. Exhibit B is another monthly breakdown, but it's a 3-year comparison of calls for service. So it actually gives council the opportunity to see the different percentages of types of calls that we're responding to and whether those types of calls have decreased or increased over the last 3 years. And I'm happy to report that most of our Part 1 crimes or our more serious crimes as defined by Maryland law are down, which is really good. Exhibit C is our enforcement totals for February 2021. It shows out of the 124 total traffic stops what our ratio is for different types of enforcement action.
What is a SERO?
SERO is a safety equipment repair order. That's when you're driving down the road and unbeknownst you have a tag light that's out, and the officer will stop you and make you aware of this violation and ensure that violation is fixed to keep everybody safe as we travel up and down our roadways. That's not a ticket, and it does not come with any points or fine. Exhibit D is our traffic stop by date through February 2021. Exhibits E and F, you can see our busiest days of the week for traffic safety enforcement was Wednesdays around 9:30 p.m.
Is there any reason, since I know you're new to the town, but has any of like Lieutenant Meal or any of our sergeants made comment on that?
No, the only thing that I could predict, being a tenured law enforcement man, is that there are a lot of the town is busy in the evening now with people participating, youngsters participating in sports and trying to get home after grabbing some McDonald's after a good soccer practice. And
No, understood. I was just wondering if there was.
You just replace soccer practice with lacrosse practice, and you just described my life.
and baseball practice, yeah, and that's my life, yeah. So it's good to see our town is starting to hustle again, and we want everybody to continue to do so safely. So our guys continue to be out there making sure that everybody's traversing our roadway safely. Our ASC speed camera program, again, we now have 3 automated speed enforcement cameras within the town, one at Kidwell Avenue, one out on, we have one at Railroad, Kidwell Avenue and Chesterfield Avenue. There were a total of 189 total citations during the month of February that were approved by me. And then finally, you'll see there's a breakdown of the different days that the fines were collected by these specific locations.
I've had an inquiry about downtown Liberty and/or Commerce Street utilizing our speed cameras. If I can remember correctly, you have plans, or you're considering a fourth speed camera for, I forget which street.
Right. There's a very specific criteria that's mandated by the Maryland State Highway Department on where these types of speed measurement devices can be deployed. We have submitted an application for a fourth speed camera in our school zone right at Y River Upper School on
So that
Commerce
would
Street.
be on Commerce Street.
Correct.
The discussions I've heard and people have made inquiries to me is on Commerce coming off the light at, I forget, Water Street. And they kind of just gun it going down.
It'd be Liberty Street.
Liberty Street, yeah, but coming from the water.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That complaint was brought to our attention earlier this year, end of last year. I actually deployed all of our officers out there. We conducted some human interaction with motorists in that area, as well as some speed measurement counting, if you would, to get some average speeds. I'd be happy to forward that correspondence along to you with what our findings were.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm going to be proposing in the upcoming budget session for the police department is a replacement and acquisition of a new speed trailer. Now, this speed trailer does not have, it's not certified through the state where we can generate citations off of it, but it is an incredibly helpful tool for areas within our town that seem to attract motorists that travel a little faster. So
Is that similar to the one that the county has put on Taylor Mill?
identical to that. In fact, we borrowed, the sheriff was very gracious as he has been since I've gotten here, and we borrowed 2 of their speed trailers when we were doing the COVID testing. What's great about these speed trailers is that their signs can be actually used for a message board, and as you saw, we had COVID testing here. So it's a great resource for us as the police department, not only for events that we may have or road closures that we may have, but also to be able to collect data from the onboard computer to see if in fact we do have a problem area with speeding motorists on Liberty Street.
What time of day?
Time of day, average speed.
The day of the week?
Correct.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's a really, and the trailer, and we can get into this more moving forward. I don't spend a lot of
During
time on it.
budget, yeah.
I plan to spend a little bit more time on it, but not right now.
Of course.
But I think it's a great tool, and the trailer that we have now is just beyond repair. We've hooked up everything that we could to it to try to get life back into it.
I
But
mean, that's one of, I think, citizens' concern is public safety.
I agree, and I think, obviously the police cannot be everywhere at once. I wish that sometimes that could be the case, but I think in lieu of having an officer there, which I have sent them out there as a part of their mandatory patrols, this is like setting a police car there without the lights on top of it.
All I know is,
And
now that I've heard this from you, I can relay to the constituents that we are making progress and we'll be addressing their concerns and hopefully improve public safety. Thank you.
Right, and I would just add to that if they have a complaint or they have a complaint of a specific vehicle or tag number, that speed trailer is not going to enforce what our guys do to enforce the law.
Okay, so you're saying that if they relay a tag number or a vehicle description, that would help you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
We will follow through with every tip, anonymous or otherwise, or every complaint that my department receives to the fullest extent that we can.
Excellent, thank you.
And finally, I posted on the Centreville Police Department Facebook page today that we have had a spike here recently in telephone and internet related scams, and there seems to be, if you check out the Centreville Police Department Facebook page, it actually kind of outlines some of the specific types of scams that have been going on in Centreville and in Queen Anne's County. And just a couple of things that I wanted to say is that no police department in our nation is going to call a citizen and ask them to make a payment over the phone for anything. They're not going to accept money over the phone. So if you're contacted, and this is to the residents of our town, if you're contacted by a caller or text message and they identify themselves as a law enforcement officer, do not provide them with any information that's going to jeopardize or compromise your bank account. And then I would also say that you cannot settle a legal matter if a scammer calls and says, you have an open warrant, or we stopped a car at the U.S. border and found drugs in the car that have your name on them, and the only way you're going to be able to get out of this is if you send us money or a Target or an Amazon or an iTunes gift card. The police departments do not do business like that. So please, please, please do not send anybody any gift cards or any money through Coinstar or any other way. And citizens that have questions about these types of suspicious phone calls or emails, have them give us, the sheriff's office or state police, a call, and we'd be happy to look into it.
I'd also like to make the comment, this past Saturday, there was a very moving ceremony out at the Fallen Heroes, honoring the fallen heroes of Queen Anne's County. And that personally, my two grandsons were part of the honor guard. So it was a very moving ceremony. I hope everybody will, if they have a moment, to visit that monument, to reflect on their sacrifice for us. And then on a more positive note, how's Chelsea?
Chelsea's doing a great job. In fact, she prepared everything that I went over. So she's doing an amazing job. She's adapting very well. She's learning very quickly, as the police department does move pretty fluidly. And she's adapting to a lot of the terminology that probably sounds like a very hard Russian language as it relates to police terminology. But she's doing great. We're happy to have her on board.
So it's been, I would say, a successful hire.
Absolutely. She's finishing up her third week and is doing incredibly well. We'll be sending her to training next week so that she can begin, have access to NCIC and our MVA and things of that nature. So
when you guys need something, you just hand it off and go do business.
That's right.
Excellent.
We're going to get to that point. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Well, that's the expectation.
Sir, we're going to do business regardless.
I know.
Right?
Yep. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Town attorney?
Have nothing tonight, and I spoke with Ms. Van Emberg, and she has nothing new
Thank you.
to report.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right, Kip, Director of Public Works.
Nothing to say.
All right, thank you. We heard from Crystal. We heard from Carolyn, Town Clerk.
Just real quick, we, at the last council meeting, the council approved awarded the contract to Mead and Hunt for the wayfinding signage, so we just signed the contract tonight, and Carol has her first conference call with them on Monday, so I'm looking forward to that moving forward.
Great, thank you.
Have we put out the contract for renewal of waste?
Yes,
RFP.
the RFP or the invitation to bid went out for the trash, recycle, and yard waste. Yes. And they are due back April 9th.
Great, thank you. Citizens Forum? All right. Council Roundtable, we'll start with Shelby.
Nothing to report.
Jeff?
I had two things. I had a citizen call me about the Oxford House on Commerce Street. She asked me a bunch of questions I didn't have an answer to. I talked to Steve about it, and I actually called her back today, and gave her what I found out, and she goes, if I find anything else out, just let me know, and I said I would get back to her. And the second thing is the property at 213 and Route 18, I see they're cleaning up some. It's getting there, it's not 100%, but it's getting cleaned up some.
Actually, ran into the attorney that's representing the property owner today, and they said that they were taking all the steps necessary to try to clean up the place.
This is the service center, the auto center? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, there was some issue with some, accumulated tires,
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
behind the property, and so we're just trying to get that cleaned up.
Right. Perfect. Councilmember Hardy.
Yes, I forgot to mention that in discussions with the Maryland Municipal League researcher about tax differential. And we received a lot of information. And in general, he said, and this kind of mirrors what has been in the past, that since we have they may pay us, the county, instead of shall, which MML is trying to get to be shall, so they have to do it, and it's not their benevolence. But he said, basically, tax differential and/or rebate is goodwill of the two or both parties to the agreement. So it's kind of like we're depending upon the goodwill of the county commissioners to do what they've always been doing, which I kind of feel is, all right, let's have some more goodwill and meet our 18 cents tax differential. Since, as Steve did a wonderful job at the COG, laying out our position.
Thank you.
Yes, it was excellent. And as I said to Steve, we had 3 of us new council members there, and Steve, and we each played, I believe, a role of presenting the concerns of the town council. I just wanted to mention that, Steve.
Thanks.
And one last thing. I hear, I don't want to say rumors, but I understand that our Carol DiAgostino and the Legacy Foundation has some future plans that they're doing for something late in the spring, early summer. That Carolyn, if you might want to, I don't know, get Carolyn and or a Legacy Foundation representative, maybe come before us, maybe after the budget hearings, to present this information. Is that, and oh, one other thing, now that we've accepted the roads in Northbrook, is that correct? That's what we did tonight? Is that the official a decision that releases the phase 3 of Northbrook for fiber optics?
It does now put the town in the position that they can make
That we
make
can
the
notify
decision.
the contractor to move forward.
I'm pretty sure
And-
Kip's probably got it on his list to
Oh, I'm
contact
sure.
them tomorrow.
Yeah, and
Does because the ordinance doesn't officially go into effect until 21 days, for
Right,
another
that's-
21 days.
okay, but that we will be notifying, so
Yeah, that they can.
he can
they
do planning.
Yeah, put the wheels in motion.
Right.
But yes, Carolyn's correct. Technically, we have to officially wait for the ordinance to
Correct.
pass its time.
And another appearance, since we've had a number of appearances over the last couple of months, informational as well as educating us, since we have this major infrastructure project going on in one of our major communities, and there are plans afoot, so to speak, for the rest of the town, would that contractor be approached? Do you come before us and discuss it? Do you think that would be a prudent idea? You know, that he's finishing up Northbrook, what's his intentions for the rest of the town? We're just posing the question, so, that's all.
we can certainly inquire what his intentions are.
Right.
I spoke to him a while ago, probably before Christmas, and have some sense of what their intentions are.
Right, yeah, but then then they ran into this phase 3 thing, so. Okay,
Is that it?
yes, and thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
God, it's only 8:03.
We can hang around if you want.
Oh,
That's okay with me.
I'll wrap up with comments about the Council of Governments meeting. Thanks to Bob and Jeff for joining me there, and Steve as well. I will say we presented a pretty compelling case, in my opinion, that we deserve 18 plus cents. I'm not sure. I will go on record saying I don't think the process for doing this is all that great. It is, I think Centreville has a special case to be made, given that we are the county seat, and as Councilmember Hardy alluded to before, we do have so many county properties, but we did make what I thought was a pretty compelling case. We've, in the history, in the past few years, I don't think Centreville has been treated all that equitably. We have, generally speaking, gotten only about 60% of what we have asked for in terms of differential. And I think the town staff has drafted a letter that we would like to send to the county commissioners and their budget staff to try and get a little bit of clarity around why they are making these decisions. When we say we are providing 100% of a service, for instance, like police department, they are coming up with a payment of only 75%. And if you look up and down our request, it's kind of, it's pretty consistent. They sometimes give us 0% of what we're asking for. So the letter that staff has drafted, if we could get a consent agreement to maybe get all of us to sign that letter and submit to the county commissioners and their staff, that would be a pretty big help. But we also have to, the meeting with the county commissioners is this coming week. So we'll have to coordinate, who wants to be there and what the message is for those folks. But as Bob mentioned before, we do have a little bit more time. There was an aggressive push at this COG meeting to make a decision that night about what we wanted to do. And we pushed back, Steve especially, I think very appropriately, given his institutional knowledge, pushed back hard and said, 4 new council members have not seen a budget, have never put a budget together before, need some more time, and they graciously granted that to us, a little bit more time. So we do have a few weeks into April before we have to decide what we want to do in terms of returning the money back to the taxpayers or keeping some of that for our budget needs as we see our budget, look at our budget. So if folks want to consent to the letter, signing the letter, that'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem.
One other comment. The 2 documents that I received from Maryland Municipal League, there was one statement that Steve just brought up that we would really like for them to give us the rationale and the reasons why they made decisions. It is mandated by state law that they have to do that. So they cannot just say, well, no. There has to be some sort of, more than a flippant sentence, I'll just say. It has to be thoughtful, it's factual, and I think we should hold their feet to the fire on it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, is right. And I mean, it's like Steve keeps pointing out, that what are we, like less than 1/10% of their budget, Steve?
It's 0.75%.
Yeah, I think you said 3/4.
0.75%.
0.75%.
What we're asking for.
Oh yeah, what we're asking for. So I would love to hear what my 5 county commissioners' rationale, reasons, facts for not giving the town of Centreville its complete tax differential. There is no reason that we shouldn't be getting that. And I think the letter that Carolyn, we respectfully request the reasoning and the determining factors. Perfect words. Thank you. So,
I suspect they're going to give us some reasons, but we'll see.
you suspect, or they, whatever. Thanks, Steve, for job well done at COG, again.
You bet. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
We might make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All those in favor?
aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Great.